I'm going to call to order the public hearing for the 2025 budget and appropriations hearing. This is something that is on our agenda before the regular business meeting. So it is 7:32 p.m. and the public hearing is open for comments on the combined annual budget and appropriation of funds for the Wilmette Park District, Cook County, Illinois, for the fiscal year beginning on the first day of January 2025 and ending on the 31st day of December 2025. Notice of this public hearing was published on the Park District website and in the Chicago Tribune newspaper. A link to the annual budget and appropriation of funds ordinance has also been published on the Park District website and available for public inspection at the administration offices of the Wilmette Park District, 1200 Wilmette Avenue, Wilmette, Illinois, since December 13th, 2024. All persons desiring to be heard will now have an opportunity to present written or oral testimony with respect to the 2025 proposed budget and appropriations ordinance. First, are there any written or oral comments from the commissioners?
I have some comments and some questions. Sheila, do you mind joining me? And just some comments about the process as well. Thank you, Sheila. Thank you.
Sure.
First, because we have such a great crowd here, I think it's probably worth talking a little bit about how this stuff works. We obviously we have an appropriations ordinance that we're going to be approving tonight, presumably, and just talking about the relationship between the budget and the appropriations ordinance. So we went through a lengthy budget process over the course of several months, developed a budget. The appropriations ordinance that we're actually approving, though, is larger than that. If you would just speak to that for a second.
So the appropriations ordinance should be kind of a summary of all of the money that we plan to spend next year. And we also, embed a little bit of, leeway.
Cushion.
What we do is we add 15% to all of the funds, except for capital, where we add 25%, so that this way, we can have an appropriations that should be large enough for us to capture all the spending that we plan to do next year. Because, in between the budget and the appropriations, we can spend up to those amounts. And that's what we've done traditionally, except for, I think maybe the year after COVID, the numbers might have been a little different, but, there was some extenuating circumstances with that. But it does summarize by fund, and it gives a lot of detail by line item, wages, contract services, a lot of that throughout the ordinance. There's also a reconciliation of where we think cash is going to end up at the end of next year. I'm like trying to remember, it's like 10 pages long. It talks about, the levy. There's property taxes are also included in here, but the levy is a separate document. So that's kind of it. It is a 10-page summary of a 217-page budget book that we have had on display since the middle of December.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Last year, after we went through all this process, we realized that we had, I think we were missing a fairly important expenses related to some credit card fees. So as soon as we got started, we were a little bit behind the 8 ball. Could you just talk a little bit about what's been done this year to improve that process and comparing? Thank you.
Okay, so today, I dumped all of the numbers that were part of the 2024 actuals, because a lot of those have been posted by now. And I compared them to the 2025 budget numbers. If we had an actual in 2024 that did not have an appropriate looking budget number, and when I say that, that's, it's just a look thing, okay? That I couldn't explain, I would highlight that, but everything that was not in line between 24 actuals and 2025 budget, I was able to explain why there was a big difference. These were some material numbers. Now, the one account that Mike is referring to was about $250,000 off. The highest line item I saw this year was a little over $100,000. We had spent $100,000 for the debt that we issued. There was some debt issuance costs, but I only have about $1,500 or $1,600 budgeted for that next year because we don't have any intention to issue debt next year. So that was the biggest variance that I found. And then everything else is probably within the $10,000 to $20,000 range after that.
Okay, I appreciate that. I think it's probably no secret here that I've got some concerns about just relating to the levy, but specifically with this appropriations ordinance. Obviously, we're going to have some transition costs with the executive director. I'm specifically concerned about the appropriation for corporate purposes for contract services. I'm concerned that we're going to exceed the appropriation. And so I have a concern about approving that now when I think we reasonably expect to exceed the appropriation. So can you talk through a little bit about the consequence of that and whether we should actually go ahead and approve an appropriation where we've got some problems with right away, or if we should take some time and fix it?
I'm not sure what those numbers are going to be. I know that there's a difference of about $850,000 between what we've budgeted for Fund 10 for next year and what we are asking for in appropriations, okay? If we exceed the appropriation, we'll have to do some sort of a B&A, budget and appropriations amendment. Now, depending on what the line, there's like 4 different budget and appropriations amendments that we could file, and they all require different things. So I'd have to do some more research on what was involved in that, but we could do that. We were looking at that last year related to the debt, but our bond counsel did a really great job of taking care of that for us and all the documentation that they put together. So this year, if you want to amend the budget and appropriations ordinance to reflect what you believe will be additional expenses that we have to capture, we can go ahead and do that. And then, we'll have to go through the public hearing, the notification, everything that we're going through right now related to having this approved at some board meeting in the future.
Is there a timeline that this has to be completed by, or could we do it in December?
You mean this coming December?
The amendment that you're referring to.
The
Once we know
amendment
the
can go
expense.
all the way through the end of December.
We could December 15th have
But
the
I
meetings
also believe that I hope to God that sometime way before that, we would know what those numbers are, and we could get that amendment done sooner.
Well, I understand that. I'm just asking if there was a deadline by which
As
we would have to file an amendment for.
As a matter of fact, we could even file the amendment sometime in 2026.
Okay.
Okay, I think those are my questions.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions?
Thank you, Sheila.
Do I need to stay here?
Only if you'd like to stand there.
All right.
Okay, any other commissioners have comments? Okay, are there any written or oral comments from the public specific to this budget and appropriations hearing? Seeing none. I'm sorry, was there a hand to speak on the budget and appropriations ordinance? Okay, come up, please.
Hello, Mark Wiremiller, Wilmette resident. If my clock is set, are you setting the 3 minutes up there?
Not in here.
Okay, I'll go up a minute and a half, so I won't go long. The clock is behind us, so it's kind of an odd thing. In the village board meetings, you have to turn around and look at the clock each time or look at your watch for your 3 minutes. So on the budget, I know you guys are talking all this stuff about appropriations and stuff. I'm concerned about property taxes being so high, and I'm just wondering if we can cut some stuff in the Park District, specifically buying the Beth Hillel congregation for $5 or $6 million, and then plans of possibly building like a $60 million water park there. I would like to maybe sell that property and get just it back on the tax base. I'm not sure if we need more parkland in Wilmette. The parks are great. I think we have enough property now. And the other thing, this whole giving up Howard Park, I know it doesn't directly relate to the budget, but my understanding is the police station is going to take up possibly half of Howard Park, which is 4 baseball diamonds. They play football there and soccer. Again, there's some talk that the village owns it, not the Park District, but I'm just concerned about Howard Park and how that fits in the budget. And I'd just like more disclosure about everything. When I look at the website, I don't see a lot of this stuff on there. But my main thing, and again, we're talking about this on a Facebook page, Wilmette Connection. Everybody in the room should be following this. We talk about issues, we promote events, a lot of commerce in the area. But one of our main goals is to get lower property taxes and more efficient government. Thank you. Mark Weiermuller, again, the name.
Mr. Weinmuller, this hearing right now is for questions specifically about the budget and appropriations ordinance. So I want to make sure, is there a question you have about this that we can address for you this evening?
No, it's more, the budgets tie in with everything.
Thank
I know
you.
you might say it's not appropriate to talk about these other capital
There'll be
improvements.
another opportunity for public comment.
Yeah, but I'm saying it ties in for me with the budget because you guys should be watching every penny spent. And that's where you might say capital improvements are different than day-to-day budgets and stuff. But for me, it all ties together. And I just want I want lower property taxes. So that's what I'm thinking about. But I appreciate the time.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
comments. Just want to make sure the questions were addressed. Once all comments and questions concerning the 2025 budget and appropriations ordinance have been addressed, we agree that they've been addressed. Hearing no further comments or questions regarding the combined annual budget and appropriations of funds for the Wilmette Park District, I declare the public hearing closed. At this point in time, I will call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Park Commissioners for Monday, January 13th. May I have a roll call?
Commissioner Frazier.
Here.
Commissioner Clark.
Here.
Commissioner Goebel.
Here.
Commissioner Murdoch.
Yes.
Commissioner Duffy.
Present.
Commissioner Kozlowskis.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Before we go any farther into this meeting tonight, I'd like to begin by taking a minute and acknowledging that our long-term executive director for the Wilmette has announced his resignation at the end of this month. We as a board just want to take this moment to thank you, Steve, for your 17 years of service to the district, to the Wilmette community. And we want to wish you great success in your next professional chapter.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. All right.
We have 3 minutes, don't we?
For someone who's as much of a show and blow as I am, that was embarrassing. So thank you.
Steve, thank you for your time and tenure. It's been a pleasure working with you.
Thank you.
Please, thank you as well. And when I joined here and went on the first tour of the district, so it was very illuminating. Thank you.
Yeah, Steve, I mean, I think it's well known that I was one of the people that hired you to the executive director position. I certainly was exceptionally impressed with you as our finance director during that period of time. I think you've led this park district incredibly well over this period of time. I mean, just thinking about all of the accomplishments, I mean, the tremendous improvement in our facilities, the beach house, the Lakeview Center, the paddle tennis program, which is the biggest paddle program in the world, might be worth mentioning. The improvements to the golf course and the play fields and on and on and on. I could go on, but I think really what's most remarkable is the way you've led this district and achieved this tremendous financial performance, because that's what's paid for all of this stuff. I didn't mention some earlier projects that required referendum debt because none of these did. This year we'll probably complete our lakefront projects, save maybe the Wallace Bowl, and all in all, those will probably approach something close to $20 million, certainly well in excess of 15 when you think of all aspects of it. I don't think there's another park district in the state that could have accomplished these projects other than maybe the Chicago Park District without referendum debt, without other support from the taxpayers. So it's truly remarkable, and it's truly remarkable what you've accomplished and how you've led us. And so I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Steve, I shared my comments with you in private, but I want to let everybody know how sad I am to see you go. I developed a nice relationship with you, working and personal, and it saddens me that this is the end. So I wish you the best again.
Thank you.
And I hope to continue seeing you around town.
For sure.
Steve, 4 years ago when a mom pushing a stroller showed up to run a campaign about a board that I wanted to join because I wanted representation of families on our park board, you were kind enough to sit with me for a lot of time week over week and teach me how to grow into this role. And so I want to say thank you for the development you've provided. And I really look forward to seeing all the amazing things that you'll do in your next step in your career.
Thank you.
So we shall proceed.
So,
through this.
real quick, just thank you to everyone for taking the time to be here tonight. Thank you for all the emails and phone calls. It's been extremely humbling, and I'm not going anywhere. I'll see you all around, and the rest of the meeting is going to be real boring, so don't feel obligated to stay. You've already lasted through the longest budget hearing we've ever had, which actually makes the old finance guy pretty happy. But with that being said, get on with your nights. There's a playoff game on. There's Monday Night Football. You have lives. You have kids. And thank you all for being here tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Steve.
Thank you.
3.0 on our agenda this evening is the consent agenda. May I have a motion for consent?
So moved.
Second?
Okay. Any discussion?
No.
Not right
Roll
now.
call to approve the consent agenda?
Commissioner Frazier.
Yes.
Commissioner Clark.
Yes.
Commissioner Goebel.
Yes.
Commissioner Murdoch.
Yes.
Commissioner Duffy.
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowskis.
Yes.
Consent agenda is approved.
Next on our agenda, communications and correspondence. As usual, there are letters from the public in our packet. There are also many letters from the community, Steve, thanking you in the packet, as I'm sure you've seen. So we just want to again acknowledge the community that's not in this room is appreciative of your service. We will now move to a time of public comment. Per usual, public comment. Anyone may address the board who would like to. I have about 15 names that have signed in. If you have not signed this sheet and you would like to address the board, I would ask you to sign. Is there a second sheet over there, Michelle? They could still sign? Yes. Okay, I would ask that you sign the additional. No, okay, then after I get through this list, we'll see if anyone else still wants to speak. In your packet, there is a page that describes our policy for public comment. I will just highlight that you have 3 minutes to speak to the board. This is an opportunity. You'll approach the podium. You may speak to us. We will not engage in question and answer at this time. This is your opportunity to ask or speak, state your points. Any questions will be noted, and staff will get back to you, or we will work to get those answers to you, if not throughout the later part of this meeting, later this week via email. For the order of the public, that's how this goes. Director Wilson will be keeping time at the 30-second. When there are 30 seconds remaining, he'll give you a warning, and then when your 3 minutes are over, we will ask you to move away from the podium so we can allow the next person to speak. May I see a show of hands if you would like to speak tonight and you have not signed in on this list? Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and we'll let you start. Please always state your name when you start for our minutes.
Tonight, I speak to the residents here
Jeff
and
Axelrod,
those
thank you.
watching from home. At the last meeting, not video recorded or broadcast, the board committed to restricting access to Gillson Beach with fences and fees in 2025. Today, it was announced that residents can now buy South Beach passes. This decision blatantly disregards the overwhelming feedback from residents, taking time out of their busy lives to tell this board face to face that this is not what they want and not what this community stands for. By announcing focus groups as an opportunity for public feedback while excluding the possibility of returning the beach to its free and open status, this board perpetuates a facade of engagement. The focus is not on whether to impose restrictions, but on the extent of those restrictions, how much to charge and how high to build the fences. This is not transparency, and it is not democracy. The decision to sell access to a public natural resource undermines the principle of shared community spaces. For over a century, Gillson Beach has been a symbol of equity, a place where anyone could gather, regardless of income or background. That legacy is now being sold off for convenience and control at the expense of underserved community residents. Meanwhile, this board continues to fail its most fundamental responsibilities. The backlog of unapproved meeting minutes that were finally approved today is another clear violation of the Open Meetings Act by this park district. The revolving door of senior staff point to deeper dysfunction within the park district's leadership. Because of this mismanagement, the price tag keeps going up for us taxpayers. These issues, combined with the board's failure to meet its legal obligations, make it clear that this board is out of touch with and even appears to hold contempt against the very community it's supposed to serve. Here's the good news. Change is coming. 3 new candidates are running in the April 1st election with a commitment to restoring inclusivity, accountability to our park district. They represent an opportunity for us to reclaim our public spaces and ensure that they serve everyone. To my fellow residents, your voice matters and your vote matters. Vote 456 on April 1st. Thank you.
Thank you. I accidentally went off the list before I started the list, so let me pick up the one other hand that wasn't on my list. Thank you. And then I'll go down the list. I'm sorry, I was gonna, okay, I'll pick, go ahead. I'm sorry. I will start the list in a moment. I was picking up the individuals that didn't sign in. State your name, please.
Cheryl Balabin, resident. I was born in Wilmette, brought up my kids in Wilmette. I continue to remain in Wilmette. We're all residents here. You're neighbors. You use the same facilities. I've attended every meeting about this issue. I think I've spoken at many. I still can't think of another place where there's a guardhouse to enter a public beach. And I've been blessed in my life, and I love the beach, so I've traveled really around the world. I cannot think of another public beach. Can you? Miami, Tel Aviv, Jamaica, Tahiti, London, Spain. There's never a guardhouse stopping you from going and enjoying the natural resource that we are stewards of, not owners of. One thing I was thinking about, this draconian, unannounced, fairly punitive answer to a limited number of issues, real issues, but we talked last time that when you look at it as a percentage, it seems large and looming. When you look at the number and it's 7 events that are not really even documented, that really brings the question, why this large response to this problem? Why not, if this has always been sort of the no swimming beach and you want it to remain that way, there's never been signage that simply says no swimming, swim at your own risk, or like at all these other beaches of the world, there might be a lifeguard, but it doesn't cost you to go to the beach. I think it's horrifying that on this large expanse we have, there's no one sliver for anybody to go and just enjoy a day. But the thing that really I came to talk about tonight was accountability of the board. And I think I addressed that initially by calling you neighbors and fellow residents. We have the opportunity at the COW meetings or at these meetings to come and talk. Many of us are passionate. I've heard songs and poems and written themes. And frankly, you said, we'll get back to you, but we're talking to a blank wall. We never have an answer. Our questions are never answered personally or in this forum. I understand that you don't want to get into a back and forth exchange during these meetings, and it does afford the residents to come forward and state their opinions. But there is no dialogue and there's no discussion, and all we ever hear is 30 seconds and the next name on the list. I would like to, I'm sure many of you know the app Nextdoor. Well, some person posted that Steve Wilson was resigning, and what has ensued on the thread
3 minutes.
Thank you for your comments.
Say it again?
Your 3 minutes are over. Thank
Can
you.
I just finish this one thing, please, for the applause? Most of the comments are about the lack
Marilyn
of dialogue
Falkenberg
with
can
the
start coming
board.
up,
I
please.
suggest you read it to see what people are saying when they don't come
Thank
to
you.
these meetings. Thank you for your service. Good night.
Marilyn Falkenberg.
Hi, my name is Marilyn Falkenberg. I know there's a lot to talk about at this meeting, so I'm just going to make it quick for my burning questions. Number one is, has the decision of offense for this season already been made? So is it already done? And then did you or will you, if it's not, gather public input on this issue? And if it's not already decided, will the board consider entirely swim at your own risk policy for South Beach? The minutes from the December 16th meeting state that the risk management agency recommends either entire swim at your own risk or lifeguard. Let's try swim at your own risk. That's it.
Thank you. Elliot Cutler.
Hello, I'm Elliot Cutler, on the condo board at 420 Linden. My grandfather's house was at Lake and 10th. Then he moved to Kenilworth, where my dad grew up and I grew up, and now I'm living here for a long time now. There's a couple suggestions I can make about the beach. One is that if we're making money with it, that means we're charging too much money. It's good to make money when you're in business, but that's not why we're charging. I think that you could get by with half of that cost, say $5, and that should only be charged to people who aren't tax-paying residents of Wilmette. In Kenilworth, we used to have a disc that you'd lace up in your sneaker. I think a driver's license with a Wilmette address could tell people that you're in Wilmette, and you don't need to pay to get in, at the very least. At the most, and also that should simply be enough to pay for a lifeguard and also a security officer to make sure the lifeguard is paid attention to. More importantly, I think, is the fact that as I understand it, I'd like to know what the precipitant motive was to put the fence up in the first place. I'm told it was in the days of COVID that something came up, and there's clearly a batch of letters or something saying that it was needed. The fact that we don't really have access to those is what precipitated the offense, is what makes debate difficult. We're all swinging at the air, and we don't have an actual. We'd like to know what it was, the cause of it, that said this is what we have to. This is why we have to have it, and that way we can rate whether what we're talking about today is a cure for that. I think it should be removed and put back to being public with a sign that says no swimming, or go up to your knees at your own risk, something like that. But as a fence which blocks it and restricts it is very inconvenient. Particularly, not that I need a walking stick, but I'm very careful as to see how far I have to walk. And from what I can see, when you're parked, it's very difficult to get. You have to park in one place and walk all the way to the other place, and all the way to the back. I beg your pardon. And it's not. The entrance should be put a great deal closer to the parking, to be convenient for everybody. And I do agree with everyone that the view from the benches is pathetic. And right now it seems that we're not debating on whether to have a fence or not, but what color it should be. I really think we need to roll it back to say, why is the fence necessary? When was it decided that it had to be there? And why is it stuck in that modality now? I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Karen Berry.
Good evening. I'm Karen Berry, and I want to begin by thanking all of you for your service to our community. I would also like to begin by citing from the Wilmette Park District's mission, which is to improve the quality of life in the community by offering parks programs, and facilities for people of all ages and abilities. And a subset is a commitment to inclusion, which includes providing a safe, equitable, and inclusive environment. I want to follow on what Elliot said about lack of prior notice that the fence was coming, with a lack of prior explanation as to why a fence was needed. And in particular, I would like to address, I was not able to attend the December meeting. And in point number 7 on page 2 of 4, it mentions that someone mentioned a community survey. I think that was me. We did not have time in 2024 to allow a statistically significant survey to be put out for the length of time it would need, as well as the number of responses required to make it significant. I work in research. I understand what statistical significance is. At the time I suggested a survey, I did not specify that it should be statistically significant. It takes a lot of design, and as it's pointed out here, it would take a lot of time to implement it, to gather the statistics, to analyze them, record them, etc. I still think it would be instructive and informative for us to have some type of public poll. I'm not concerned about statistical significance. A typical response rate for a large survey is 6 to 10%. If you get 20%, wow, that's a home run. I will volunteer. I cannot write a survey, that's not my area, but I will volunteer to administer a survey. Give me a budget for postage, postcards, and a list of addresses, and I will get a survey out in 2 weeks, and there will be a deadline on returning it, and then I will be happy to turn over simple yes or no, 5-question rate, whatever it is, to turn that back over to the Park District. I think you need to hear from more people than just those of us who show up and the people who email you, that we have no way of knowing how many people email you. And I respect that there are people who want the fence. I personally don't, but I would like to know numbers.
3 minutes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karen. Anastasia Royal.
I started coming to these meetings in the summer after I was horrified to see that people were unable to put their toes in the water and were being harassed, and there was also a fence up. And I do remember in 2016, there was quite a survey that was done, and the only thing everybody agreed on, from what I remember, was that Gillson should be open and free for all and remain so. So I don't think in these ensuing years that people have really changed their minds. And I want to ask a question. I hear there's going to be a focus group about, what type of fence or whatever, when I guess you guys have already decided that. And I also am very sad about that. It's very difficult to talk about. But I want to know how much a focus group is going to cost. Maybe someone could get back to me about that. And I also started coming, and I was, I'd never been to a lot of board meetings before, but I went to all of them in the summer, and I was really alarmed by the lack of transparency and the disingenuousness of the people on this board. And I wasn't prepared for that at all. So I think it's really sad. And with that in mind, I have been asked many times to run for the board, and I am running for the board. So I hope you will support 4, 5, and 6. That's Paul McKinley, Nancy Wolf, and me, Anastasia Royal. I've been a resident of Wilmette for over 50 years. I'm a piano teacher. I'm a local author. I have all kinds of, it sort of dovetails. I've had all kinds of local outreach and heard a lot from young people and old people alike about their feelings about Gillson. I'm not going to call it South Beach. I'm not going to divide it up. It's been called Gillson Beach since I was a little girl. That's what I'm going to call it. And I just find the whole thing so tragic. Even your handling of the way this has been rehabbed, the whole front, there has been virtually no ability to use Gillson Park since my birthday on September 3rd. There's hardly been any ability of me to go during the entire beach time of the summer, because it was so tragic to see everybody being turned away, kids and people crying and people not being able to go in the water. And that was just ridiculous. And I came to the aid of many people. I did it as an experiment. I thought, I'm an artist. I'm going to come to the aid of people. I'm going to write songs. I'm going to come here and I'm going to do parody songs. A lot of people came up to the beach. I'm going to be interviewed on TV. I'm going to make all kinds of artwork, like offensive, and draw pictures. It was an experiment to see how far as an individual I could get. And now I'm going to run for the board. And so 4, 5, 6, me, Anastasia Royal, and Nancy Wolf,
Thank you
and
for your comments.
Paul McKinley. Thank you very much.
Connie Siegel.
Hi, I'm Connie Siegel. I think you know who I am by now. First of all, I want to say in response to what Anastasia was saying that that survey, I think 78% of the respondents were for leaving the beach open and free, the whole Gillson Park. I mean, we've always had the pay part. That's been there since I've lived here, and I've been here 40-some years. The other thing I wanted to mention was this fence was, to me and to many here, a huge disproportionate reaction to your stated problems, and it's absolutely unacceptable. In many people's opinion anyway, obviously not yours, but and it was all because you said of some rude incidents to some staff, and to me it seems like there's money needed, and so you're monetizing it. We'll never know some of us will never know the real truth to what's behind it. And if you were on my, seeing you on the street, I'd probably like all of you, but for these decisions you're making, it's not flying well with me. And as far as this focus groups that you talked about the last meeting, I feel like we're being deceived because you had one of you, I think maybe it was you, Cara, that said at the meeting in before the holidays that there'd probably be no decisions on this until maybe mid-January, February, if we didn't want to keep coming here. They appreciated our coming, but we didn't need to. But then at the last COW meeting, all that presentation was about this, and it's already determined that you're going to keep monetizing it. And it seems like you're putting it on us to come up with alternatives to a fence. And I feel very offended by that. This problem was not here all the years I lived here, and now it's a big problem, so it should be on you to figure out the solution that's better than the one that you've done. And thank you. As far as the focus groups, I didn't receive anything from the park board, and I know you have my email. And the only way I received was through Walter Keats, whom I don't believe is a park board member or anything. And so why are we not receiving emails from the park board? And I first thought I did sign up through that link that he sent, but now I'm kind of feeling like I don't even want to be a part of it because they're not transparent. They are behind closed doors. I don't know who gets to go, who's going to go. It's limited, and the public will not know what is said unless they happen to run into somebody who attends or talk to any of you. And there could be opposite feedback on that. So I guess that's I have a lot of other things I could say because I'm starting to get angry now by this time. And so, I like you all probably individually, but here it's like this is just not working. That's all I got to say.
Thank you for your comments. John Weinberger.
John Weinberger, Wilmette resident, once again on South Beach. I've attended meetings, I've tried to keep up, but I've spoken, and I don't remember the decision being made on this board that South Beach is going to be a swimming beach and it's going to be closed off to the public. I heard the staff presentation last month. That's the closest I've ever heard of any explanation of turning South Beach into a closed swimming beach. I didn't hear any discussion on the other side from the board or from the staff. I've heard that from members of the public. I've never heard members of the public say we need a South Beach to be a swimming beach. So I don't understand when or how that decision was made, and I object to that decision. I think that should still be under consideration. If there's a crowd control problem, there is a swimming beach that people can use, and they can pay to use that swimming beach, and they've always done that. And I don't understand why all of a sudden people have to use South Beach as a swimming beach. You know, maybe we need more enforcement. Maybe we need to be tougher on people who don't want to follow the rules. But, you know, I don't see why all of a sudden this problem. Also, the issue of insurance liability for swimmers. When did this become an issue? I've never heard about that. Was that a problem a year ago? Was that a problem 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? When did insurance liability become a problem? Why are we all of a sudden have no choice in this matter? What did the insurance people say? What was the context? What were they responding to? How much is that going to cost if we don't do it? If we do it, let's get some information about that. And I think the right thing to do is to keep the beach open. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Thomas.
Hi, I'm Mary Thomas. Let me just get my notes. My name's Mary Thomas. Okay, I have 2 points that I want to make. Approving the controlled access plan in late December, which was a really busy time of year when a lot of people were not even in town, felt like a really bad idea. When I believe you said at previous meetings that any decision about the beach was not going to be made until January at least. And so we had plenty of time to talk about it. So now you've offered focus groups, but they kind of feel like an afterthought, where they feel like, okay, the decision was made and we offered the focus group, so you had the opportunity to say something. But again, the focus groups are not public. I kind of feel like it should be a public hearing where people are actually free to say what they want to say and not be limited to 35 or 60 people. Also, we were told that we would get invitations to the meeting or to the focus groups, which I, for one, did not get. I had to send out a bunch of emails in order to get one. So this feels like the decision that was made at the COW meeting at the end of December feels like what you did last spring, where the decision was made without the public's input. Oh, and then also I am curious what the cost of the focus groups are. And my second point is, a negotiated option would be to make one area of South Beach free to the public, at least one area of South Beach free to the public. For example, there's always been a fence between Gillson and the swimming beach, and why not fence off the swimming area and then have at least the area, the farthest south area of the South Beach be a free beach for people just who want to sit on the beach, who want to read a book, who don't need to pay, who aren't going to go in the water, and have it be clearly stated that you can't go swimming, you can put your feet in the water, your kids can build sandcastles, but you can't go in the water. So that would feel like a negotiation or a compromise between all these people that have come to these meetings, myself included, since May of last year, and it would feel like a compromise, at least. And you could also look at it as an experiment. Do it for a year. Try having one area be open and free. That's only 1/3 of the people that you have to deal with compared to the whole South Beach, and see how it goes.
30 seconds.
Give people the opportunity to redeem their behavior for the few bad actors that made it bad for everybody. And I also want to kudos to Mike Murdoch, who was the only person that responded to my emails, who actually took the time to talk with me at length about the South Beach issues. Thank you, all of you, for your service, and thank you, Mike, for chatting.
Paul McKinley.
Hi, my name is Paul McKinley. I attended the last meeting and I was somewhat disappointed that there hadn't been proper data collected on South Beach. One of the very first things I would have thought of if we're having incidents is record what the incident was, what time it happened, And what was the attendance before we put up the fence? We don't have the answers to these questions. And it makes it very hard to come up with a solution when we can't pinpoint the problem. We need an open public hearing. We need proper notification for this open hearing. We need questions answered. We need to be able to go back and forth. You know, we can see people are coming a year later, still not knowing answers, and still asking questions that are not getting answered. You know, and my personal thought is the people who are hurt most by these, you know, especially the fee to enter, you know, are families. You know, children not being able to go to the beach. I've talked to families that aren't going from this community and others. You know, 5 kids, you know, 3 kids, a group of 5, that's $50. You know, that's a reason not to go to the beach. That's a reason that a child will not learn through experience. You cannot replicate Lake Michigan. Skokie cannot build their own Lake Michigan. There's only one. It has to be free.
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right. Steve, I wish the best for you.
Gail D.
Good evening, everybody. I wish it was a Happy New Year. Unfortunately, after reading about your decisions in December, doesn't seem very happy to me. I want to thank you all. Oh, by the way, somebody's glasses are up here. I'd like to thank you all as a member of the public, not a Wilmette resident, for allowing me to make remarks. So here I go. I'm very disappointed, as many have pointed out, that you had for those who are watching by video who don't understand the Wilmette process that I've learned since coming to meetings since last May about South Beach, is that you have non-videoed, basically you cannot understand what happens at your COW meetings, committee of the whole, versus these regular meetings in public, in the Village Hall here for the regular public meetings. It's astounding to me that you decided in December to have a COW meeting on South Beach. There was no, I'm signed up for all your emails now, and there was no mention in your bulletin board meeting in December 1st that the COW meeting was going to be on December 16th solely on South Beach. So basically, the public didn't get any notice. There was no press release that it was going to be about South Beach. So yes, you basically did engage in the same process, lack of public input that you did in March of the year of 2024 when you first instituted this policy. So to me, it's like this local problem here, or whatever, your local process is reflecting sort of like our federal policies. There's a campaign of misinformation that's gone on with the statistics about incidents at the park. I know that because the FOIA request, the stuff that I got back from the police department has never been included in your minutes, even though I've gotten up here 3 times and talked about their information. The information that I tendered to your board in person has never been included in the minutes. And that's going on 6 months now. So I think the public should know that. So there's a lack of transparency. It's sort of a class war going on when you're talking. It's, you know, we're using the staff safety as a, I don't know if that's a cover for monetization. It never has made sense to me. But it's kind of class warfare when you're trying to keep the public out of a free area. How much more do I got? 3 seconds or
23 now?
23 minutes. Okay. So your statistics are not defined properly in the and the presentation that the park board the park management made in December is not available for the public to see. It's not in your minutes now that you just approved for December either. I mean, you've got some vague statistics that are not defined. And I know that they're incorrect because I have the same statistics from the Wilmette Park, from the Wilmette Police. So I think you should have a special public hearing held where people can answer questions from the board. You know, there could be a free exchange of information between the public and the board.
Kevin Williams. Is there a Kevin Williams? Okay. Patricia Gaber?
Patricia Gaber, Wilmette. Patricia Gaber, Wilmette. I would just like to echo the previous comments, past few comments about the December 17th meeting. I was really taken by surprise when I went to your website today in preparation for the meeting tonight and read that you had committed to using a managed access control at South Beach. This is 1 week before the holidays, and you made that commitment based on what? Based on staff, let's see here. The board carefully deliberated this choice, considering testimonies and evidence highlighting the positive impacts of a managed beach area. These include enhanced safety for beachgoers, improved operational efficiency, and a better experience for visitors and staff. The board also considered feedback from Park District staff, public input, and data from local law enforcement as key factors in making their decision. It's interesting that you in this write-up, you don't talk at all about what you liked about public input. What have you agreed with in the last 6 months of what the public has come here to tell you? You're not listening, basically, and you haven't listened all the way. So a shift in mindset is definitely what's needed here. If there's a hierarchy of importance, you need to put public sentiment or unfencing at the very top, not your staff comments. These folks work for you. They're going to say what they think you want to hear, and you know that. I feel like all of this December meeting was just a little bit of trickery again, and I don't like it. Nobody likes it.
30 seconds.
The myriad reasons we've presented to you all year are plain speaking through public comments, letters, petitions, protests, and rallies, reflect our honest, heartfelt feelings for Gillson. The fence is down, it should stay down, and 100 years of Wilmette Park Board saw it that way. Thank you.
Lee Goodman.
Mr. Steve Wilson, congratulations on your tenure. Good luck to you in whatever comes next.
Thank you.
A man and a woman were having an argument, a disagreement. And one of them said to the other, I feel really like you're not paying attention. I'm angry, I'm disappointed, I'm upset. You never listen to what I tell you. And if I ask you a question, you never answer me. And the other part of this pair said, well, that's not right, sweetheart. Once a month, I listen to you for 3 minutes. And I give you a 30-second warning right before your time's up. And as far as not answering you, well, I guess you've just never asked me a question I thought was worth my time to answer. I've heard a lot of people tonight say things that sound an awful lot like that. It's been 10 months now. We've been asking you for a public meeting, for a survey, for something, and you know what we keep getting back? And these are your words. There'll be a process. There was a process. The process was you did whatever you wanted to do, and you never involved the people of Wilmette. That was the process. Some of you folks are going to have campaigns coming up. You've got opposition now. So I'm trying to imagine what your campaign literature is going to look like. Are you going to send out flyers that say, I never listened to you before and I promise I never will again? Are you going to put up yard signs that say, shut up and reelect me? If you get one of those surveys from the newspaper, the League of Women Voters, that says, why are you running for office? Are you going to say, because it makes me feel important and I get to spend other people's money without asking them what they want me to do? There have been a number of people, not just me, who have pointed out that your policies have a racial impact and that the history of this park district, and it's not alone, has a racial and ethnic and national origin impact even today. You haven't refuted this. You haven't contested it. You haven't even answered it. Maybe you think the voters of Wilmette have given up on the notion that their elected officials should be accountable and answering to them. I guess you'll find out.
Dan O'Brien.
Hi, Dan O'Brien, longtime park user, first-time commenter, Mackenzie dad, Trevian dad, and soon to be, hopefully, fill-in-the-blank university dad this fall. You know, one of the reasons my wife and I moved to Wilmette and moved maybe a little bit above our skis to get into this community, into the North Shore community. The North Shore community is fortunate to have many great schools, many great policies, many great downtowns and facilities. But something that I think is unique in Wilmette is the sense of community. We literally live on the grid. Fortunately for some, hardworking for many, we give up a little of the space of a yard or an estate to have neighbors, to be able to see our neighbors, to welcome them with a hello and a thank you, to watch them shovel our driveways or our sidewalks. This allows us to have a little bit more green space, a little bit more community space to gather, to see each other, to see our neighbors. And so thank you all for your commitment. Thank you all for your enthusiasm for that sentiment. But tonight I'd like to speak to Steve Wilson. And Steve, thank you for always being a passionate and a patient provider and protector of those community, of those spaces, and all the while being a neighbor, being a friend, being a mentor to me as I've gotten to learn the community. Someone who's been around and as big and as gregarious as you are. I see you throughout the community, not hiding, like a good neighbor does. So I'm sad to see you go, and I'm sad for Wilmette that you're leaving. We will carry on, you all, and the volunteer enthusiasm and commitment will carry us there. But we're at a loss today. We will build back up, but I am excited, and I will continue to be a neighbor to you, to watch and see where you go. And
30 seconds.
I'll leave it at that and leave the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark Weimiller.
How you doing? Mark Weimiller. I'm seeing if the clock is started, which it is not. So thanks for letting me speak earlier. Again, we're talking about this on Facebook on Wilmette Connection. We really don't do the next door thing. I'm also on Twitter if anyone wants to follow me. I'm going to look at the clock. One thing I've asked to the village board if they could have the clock up here, because my neck is hurting turning around looking at the clock every time and seeing you guys looking at the clock deciding, oh my God, I wish Mark would finish here. So good luck to Steve Wilson. I've enjoyed having you here, and we'll miss you. Wilmette's a wonderful place to live, but I do go to a lot of these meetings, and I have issues with a lot of the boards. This week there's a zoning board, there's another board tomorrow, a village board. There's meetings all the time, so back to the clock. I already mentioned that. Oh, also, I'm not running for anything, so you don't have to vote for me. I'm announcing today I'm not running for park board. I did have a chance to get appointed Thank you, thank you. About 10 years ago, there was an empty spot, and I said, well, I should do that. A bunch of people said that. And I was the first one cut off. They said I had no park experience, I didn't know anything about finance, and they knew that I wanted to cut taxes. So I'm probably not qualified to be on the park board. A couple issues, I know Gail mentioned it. I don't know why we don't tape these committee of the whole meetings. I would have them here where we have the video and stuff. I don't understand why someone can't hold up a cell phone and tape it. It just seems like they should be taped. Minute 26. Other issues, I want lower property taxes. I'm concerned about buying the Beth Hillel congregation. I think we should sell that and let homes be built there. I'm not going to really get into the fence. One issue I do have, I'm 64 and I cannot get the senior discount until you're 65. Over at IHOP, I can get pancakes at 55. So I would lower the age to 55. And 64 ain't young. I don't know if you know that, but I'm getting old. And I'd like, I think that's just something to consider. Couple other quick things, 51 seconds. The Park District just got a $600,000 grant and they're going to change tennis to pickleball. I'm not sure if we should have done that. And it's not just 600,000. I think the Park District's going to put in several million, maybe 5 million more, who knows. So I have issues with a lot of the spending. Lastly, Howard Park. I don't know if people in the room are concerned about it, but the new $62 million, 30 seconds, 28 seconds. I like your comment over here too about the timing. They're going to build a new $62 million police station. They're going to take a bunch of Howard Park. I think this is a big concern. We should be really focused on that. 14 seconds. I think that's all I got. Again, my name's Mark Weiermiller. If you want to follow me on Wilmette Connection. Got 7 seconds. And I'm also on Twitter. And my time is up. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Hannah Daniker? Okay. That's all that I have. Is there anyone else that wants a chance to speak to the board this evening? That has not spoken yet. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, that's not in our policy.
Yeah.
So we're going to close public comment at this time. Board, I know many of us have noted questions. By way of a overview, let me direct people to there was a presentation in the December 16th meeting. Is that available online? On their website?
Right. Yeah, it's in the packet.
You can go to, so the minutes are in one place, the agendas are on a different link on our website. So if you go to the agenda for the December 16th meeting, you will see a, 20-ish page presentation that Superintendent Merrill presented to the public, to the board at that CAL meeting on December 16th. There was a significant amount of detail in there, including some of the police statistics and the logic that he walked through in that presentation. So I would direct everyone to that for some more information. Many of the questions raised tonight were there. We will take inventory of these. Many of these have been addressed in previous meetings. So we will take notes of these questions. And just in terms of the focus groups, that information is also on our website to sign up for them. And individuals that have previously written to the board were sent personal invitations to those focus groups by our staff. So that's just to answer a couple questions. Board, is there anything else pressing?
I think as we go through
we'll
the
take notes
staff
of
reports,
these.
we can.
Yeah, staff reports if you have anything else you want to speak to. That's going to move us to staff reports. Executive Director's report is first.
Point of order.
Does that work?
Don't know.
There are glasses up on the podium. Yeah, I've been trying.
Okay, thank you. Did anyone leave their reading glasses at the podium? Please feel free to come up and take them back.
Oh, we left from a prior meeting.
It could have been here from a prior meeting. Thank you for that.
Are you going to answer the question about why you had it in a town meeting instead of a
We do not intend to engage in questions further at this time. We're going to move into staff reports. Steve?
Great. The director's report this month is relatively brief. We open the meeting with the budget and appropriations ordinance hearing. You have under new business the ordinance itself that outlines $31.6 million in operating revenue, offset by $25.6 million in operating expenses, with a net operating surplus of $6 million. Beyond that, capital expenditures of 7.3 and debt service of 1.9, resulting in a bottom line deficit of $3.2 million, which will come from reserves. Other than that, the only other item in my director's report is later this month, many of the board and many of the staff will be at the annual IAPD IPRA state conference in the city of Chicago. A lot of great education, a lot of great networking takes place there, and everyone comes back recharged, ready to take on another year. So look forward to that at the end of the year. That concludes my report.
Before we go any further, can I also add that the Wilmette Historical Society will be hosting a presentation on the history of Gillson Beach and how it was reclaimed, how it was originally reformed from part of the digging of the North Shore Channel, which was used to reverse the flow of the Chicago River, and that how it initially went from just a pile of clay to the current park as we know it. That will be Sunday, Sunday, January 26th, and I believe 2 o'clock at the Wilmette Historical Society, if anyone is interested.
Thank you. Parks and Planning report, please.
Start with Gillson. In the last couple of weeks, we have seen a slowdown due to the holidays and also the weather. But previous to the start of the holiday season, we had the plumbers inside to start some of the interior plumbing work. In one of the mechanical rooms, we are updating some of the fixtures in there. We're adding a drain, and that's where the water main loops into the building to then loop back out to the park. They did put down 1.5 inches of asphalt on Overlook Drive. We're currently working through some of the phasing maps so that we can open up a section, or the actual entrance of the park, so on Harbor Drive, and you'll be able to go to Overlook to Park to be able to walk through the park. Because of the weather and being water main and sewer work, we're at a hold right now of changing any of the phases. We have also painted the lines on Overlook so that cars and users of the park can park on Overlook when they are getting in and out of the park. There is 1.5 inch lip that we have right now because the asphalt is 3 inches. So we will have a little bit of a lip. We're going to try to ramp up some of those areas if we are seeing any issues. We're keeping up the snow fence around the boot of the park so that we have users going into areas and not into construction areas. Any questions on Gillson?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just the space between the asphalt and the turf on Harbor Drive, that is where the placement of the pedestrian walk will go, correct?
On the south side.
On the south.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that has not been installed yet.
Okay.
The only area that has sidewalk is where the harbor entrance is for the brick pavers. They did that with pouring the concrete in front so that we didn't have any other downtime for users to get in and out of their parking lot.
All right.
I just wanted to comment on how remarkable it was that you were able to get as much asphalt down as you did. I mean, talk about just barely getting it under the gun. That was phenomenal.
I agree.
Absolutely. And, we had a resident earlier come in and complain about, say some negative things about access to Gillson. I think you've done a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
And the fact that you've contemplated ways that you can have access during this major construction project is remarkable. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. We've been trying our hardest out there.
I'll tell you, because I walked down that way through there fairly frequently because I go to the dog beach, and I've been just impressed by seeing people there working, even when it's been so cold. So they've really been
agreed.
Quite
yeah, even this week they've been working on backfilling along the edges of the concrete sidewalk and cleaning up the park so that there are still crews on site doing work even when they can't do other portions of the project.
I'd echo both what Cecilia and Mike have said, and I'm really excited about The curbs look beautiful. Everything looks fresh again, and it's just only the beginning of the project, so I'm really looking forward to when we can reopen.
I was gonna say, I can't wait. I mean, this morning, because it was so cold, my husband drove me down, and as we're going on Upper Drive, he's like, "Is this brick?" I said, so it was like, no, it's just it's never been resurfaced.
Right.
Where it's finally getting done.
Right.
So it's.
Great job, Chrissy.
Yep, thank you. One other thing I wanted to mention, sorry, there are a lot of pictures of it. The sidewalk in front of Lakeview Center on the west side, we poured that right before like New Year's Eve. They got one good day in, and we needed to get those poured ASAP because they have to fabricate the railings and they have to do on-site measurements. So we really wanted to get that in ASAP because it takes 6 to 8 weeks to fabricate those railings. So that was something I worked with Meg, they helped out a lot to make sure that we were able to do the project and not impact the operations too much of the building. So that was really good. All right, I'll move on to Langdon. Langdon, unfortunately, is a little slower at this time due to weather. They have started the foundation of the shelter, but they've had a lot of weather days, they're calling them, over the last couple of weeks. They also had some time off for the holidays also. I know the weather does warm up at the tail end of this week and then plummet pretty hard next week. We do have weekly meetings still with the contractor and our engineers, and they've told us all along that if there is a day that warms up, they will be on site. So it's not a all or nothing over the next couple of months. Any questions on Langdon?
Supposed to warm up. It's also supposed to rain. Is that?
It's like Thursday, Friday, or Friday, Saturday. We see almost 40 degrees.
Yeah.
And then it drops again on Monday, Sunday, Monday, pretty cold again. Kudos to marketing for the collaboration with our parks planner for creating some signs over at K Park. So we worked with marketing to create some signs with QR codes that a user of the park can scan and then get a link to our tree inventory. This is different than the access that we have because we can manipulate the system. We can remove trees, we can add trees. So this is just a user can scan the QR code, which looks like this. Very simple tree, and then just what they're looking at, explore our trees. And then they can go to any park within Wilmette that we have a tree inventory on. They can zoom in and get the details of the tree, whether it's a memorial tree, conifer. So there are some details on the map of what trees are there. And then if you click an actual icon, it gives you more info about the tree.
That's awesome.
It's exciting. Thank you.
So we started at K thinking it's a nice tree walk. You have the path out there. You can use your phone to go up to trees to see which ones. So it could be something that we continue to add to other parks.
That would be awesome. I've seen that in similar things at
Mhm.
other parks, and it's really, really nice.
So big news, ice rinks opened up on Friday.
Yay!
Yeah, kudos to the parks crew. They really knocked it out of the park this past week. They worked in shifts of 2 at each ice rink around the clock. So we had people working from 12 a.m. till 8:30 in the morning. Process is we have to wait until the ground is frozen before we can start flooding those rinks. It takes anywhere from 3 to 5 days depending on temperature. We were able to open those up on Friday. We had a little snow event on Sunday, so they came in and cleared those up. And then they are back to the round-the-clock shifts because we want to make sure that we get a real thick slab of ice. So they are still flooding overnight and then maintaining them during the day. We hope with that little bit of a spike in temperatures that it just melts the top surface and then just gives us a nice solid surface. And then next week, we looked in the forecasted temperatures. We might have ice until February, which is just awesome because we haven't had that in years.
No, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
It'd be great to have it the whole season long. But
Agreed.
It'd be great to
Agreed.
have as much as we can this year.
Right, and it's just at Thornwood and Malincrot. We determined that Gillson would just be too hard with the construction project. Onto the building staff, they had a floor resurfacing project at Malincrot. They also replaced the floor within the big room, so you'll be able to see that at the next COW meeting. We replaced it with a PVC floor, removed the carpet tiles. They've been cleaning up. They did fix the water issue in the Malincrot basement of the wood shop. So now they've resurfaced the stairs night and day. It's almost unbelievable how much better they look. Then we also had a refinishing of the floors at the rec center, so within the gym, and then also the fitness studio. And they're working on SUPs, building those for the Sailing Beach.
Thank
Any
you,
questions?
Christy.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christy.
Recreation report.
Are those your glasses?
They are. I have 3 minutes to get them. On behalf of the Recreation Department, Steve, thank you for being yourself and all that you've done over the years and for everything recreation, and it's very much appreciated, and you will be missed. Thank you. The month of December was quick, I'm sure you know. We spent a lot of time concluding the fall session and getting ready for the holidays. So over the course of the holidays, as you know, we did a lot of cool things. We had letters to Santa. We had breakfast with Santa. We had the Nutcracker. We did gift wrapping. Lots of holiday-themed programming for families, and it was tons of fun. Credit to our to our Blue Team staff for getting through winter break camps this year with no one on our wait list, which, as you know, has always been a thing for us. We've always had more people on our wait list than we ever cared to, and now we are working toward running programs, bigger programs with nobody on the wait list. So we're very proud to see families with things for their kids to do over the holidays, and that's been great. But everything, like I said, month of December is very short. We're very sad to see Steve go, and we wish you the best. That's it for the rec report.
Can I ask you a couple questions? I think this is a spot that we can talk to some of the questions that were posed. Is Cheryl Bailman still here?
No.
Okay, Cheryl left. Is there a guardhouse to get onto South Beach? All right, she said there's a guardhouse in order to enter a public beach. I'd just like to point out to anybody that's still listening, there is no guardhouse to get onto the public
I
beach.
would also point out that from on the up East Coast, and you have to pay admission to like all the New York State beaches. That will include on Long Island or upstate New York, and New Jersey. You have to buy a beach pass to go to any of the New Jersey beaches. So all these free and if you're going into Connecticut, you've got to get a beach pass for that. So, or you have to be a resident of the town. So I just think that there's just making this comment. This, paying admission to enter beaches is not is typical for most beach locations if there are lifeguards.
So is Marilyn F. still here? Marilyn?
Falkenberg.
Is Marilyn still here? The questions were, will there be a fence this year? There's going to be a controlled access, which some people call fence. I would say it's probably going to be a fence. What the fence may look like, how much of the South Beach is going to be fenced. This is all to be determined. So yes, public input to one of her other questions. We cannot, nor will this board support swim at your own risk. I believe we're all in unison on that. Elliot, is Elliot still here? No. Elliot suggested free for residents, they have to show an ID. How many 8-year-olds have IDs? They may want to get on the beach. It's a good idea. It's hard to figure out how to make that work. But again, we are having the public input,
Focus groups?
Yeah, the focus groups. People can share these ideas, and then we can work together to try and figure out solutions that may work for more people. He says he has to walk too far for access. Well, it depends where you park. There's not a whole lot of parking right along the beach, but there's 3 access points.
Can I jump in? There was a comment about what have we listened to from public, and I think that's one example. Early on last year, there were, I believe, 2 entrance points to the beach, and people were concerned about the distance and to enter and exit from that area, so a 3rd entrance was added. That, along with relocating fences, changing bench locations. And there were several instances last summer where we did listen to public feedback and staff made adjustments.
Well, I think what was important is that this year was a period to understand we tried to make some change to accommodate some of the issues that were happening down at the beach, and that there's been no commitment to put the exact same fence up the exact same way it was. We're looking for input. And yes, there will be some controlled access to a new swimming area along South Beach, but it's yet to be determined. And again, we're listening to feedback. We haven't made a decision how it's going to end up. Karen offered to run a survey. Is Karen still here? No, Karen has left as well. She said that a statistical survey is not necessary. I beg to differ. If we didn't have a statistical survey, then we would have people arguing against the data that was being presented in the non-statistical survey. So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
And I would just jump in on that we have made some attempts in the past and have heard some criticism about it. So when we do survey now, that we've done 2 statistically significant surveys over, I don't know how many years, and they are very expensive and they are worthwhile. But I'm very leery about haphazard surveying like she suggested. I wouldn't support that.
Is Anastasia Royal still here?
No.
She asked for the cost of the focus group. We can figure that out and we can get that to her. Is that accurate? Yes. Thank you. Connie, you're still here. Thank you. Oh, Connie left.
She'll be back.
She'll be right back. I'll wait for her to come back. John Weinberger. John Weinberger has left. How was the decision made for closing South Beach? Why do we need South Beach to be a swimming beach? We've been through this numerous times. Those questions have been answered over and over. I think by pointing out that people make their comments and then leave is a perfect example of why we are accused of not having transparency. People ask their questions and then they leave and they don't listen for why things happen. Mary Thomas.
Actually, before you go on, John also asked what are the insurance costs
Yeah.
and what are the insurance costs with respect to a swim at your own risk policy. I think it's just a misunderstanding of the issue. And we actually have our attorney here, though I'm not sure he's on the clock. But my understanding is that if we were to have a beach, a paid beach and a swim at your own risk beach next to each other, not that there would be an insurance issue, but that we couldn't get insurance for that and we might have liability where we don't have liability now. Is my understanding anyway. So I don't think it's a question of how much did the insurance cost.
It was explained as an all or nothing. In
Right.
order to have a swim at your own risk, it was recommended we wouldn't be able to have the swim in Gillson Beach, that we do have the entire swath of beach.
Right,
would
so
be
if we were
either
to
swim at
do
your own
these
risk
2
or
things, it would
lifeguard.
expose us to significant
Correct,
liability.
a significant
Yeah,
change.
that's my understanding as well, but it's not advised to have a at-risk and then a guarded beach side by side.
Correct.
It creates confusion for the community, which seems logical to me.
Right.
So Mary Thomas, did she stick around?
Mary's
Hey,
here.
Mary. So invitation to focus group not shared. I apologize. We thought that you were going to get an invitation, but we're glad to hear that
Says
you
it
are.
was sent.
Yeah. All right. We're glad to hear that you did get an invitation ultimately, and that you will hopefully still attend. Because to your point about splitting the beach into different sections, as I just mentioned, it is an opportunity. This past year, we reacted to a situation. We never said this was a permanent fence. By design, it wasn't a permanent fence. It has come down, and now we are looking at solutions for the coming season. Okay, so your input at the focus group is very important. So please do attend. Please share your idea about splitting the beach, because to be honest with you, I am with you on that. I think people should be able to walk down there and just read a book, you know? So that's not in my purview.
The staff are saying this week.
Okay.
And I would just add, anyone who wishes to register, I think can do so from our website.
Yep.
So go to.
Nope. I'm also getting the staff shaking heads that that's been closed.
Yeah,
It's been
it was
closed.
January
Thank you
12th,
thank you for letting us know.
If I may also add, there was a question about the focus groups. They are being conducted by a third party. They're not run by us, by staff. There's a third party, the same organization or firm that assisted with the registration website and reworking and looking at some of the challenges we had with the mass registration events. And those focus groups were conducted again, and the results of those were shared back to our board. So Dave, is that correct? The results of the focus groups this time around will be presented back to the board. We encourage everyone to attend whatever meeting that will be. and listen for that information. We'll all be hearing it together at the same time when that data comes back. So it's not going to be happening in the closed doors in the sense that the information will be hidden from anyone.
I did want to comment, Lee Goodman, you're still here. Thanks for staying. We are not racists.
May I, sorry, to that point, I wanted to point out in your presentation, we have a new music class, which I saw is an adult pop music class. You mentioned it's off to a strong start, appears to already have a wait list, and you made a comment that you worked with the Barefoot Hawaiian Inc. organization to make sure the naming of this ukulele class was in a culturally respectful manner. I had flagged that in the meeting when I was in the packet when I was reading. I wanted to comment that and thank you for that detail. We do have a DEI policy around here. Then I appreciate little things like that that are furthering that, and that went nicely with that comment. Thank you.
Mark Weiermuller, he never sticks around, but he often says things that are not accurate, maybe to drive people to a site, who knows. But the OSLAD project is not going to be another $5 million project. We received a $600,000-ish grant for some improvements over at Hibbard, thank you. And some of that is beautification, some of that is walking paths, some of that is water fountain, some of that is new playground equipment, shelter for baseball.
Pickle courts.
And pickle courts. So,
And our input's going to be about $1 million.
yeah, our share of that is roughly $1 million, not $5 million.
With contributions from organizations like Wilmette Baseball Association and others to help defray
That is
costs.
true. Thank you for reminding me of that.
And which has already been budgeted for.
And which
And
has
we
been budgeted.
cannot have COM meetings at Village Hall, I believe, because there's a conflict, but
Timing of conflict, so we can't have the meetings here to be recorded here. That was, I
Those
would
are the
say,
questions
most
I-
of the
I made
questions.
notes.
yeah.
Thanks for your presentation.
yes, thank you.
Thank you for standing up there,
Great job,
Dave.
Dave.
I just, yeah.
Operations.
Okay, so at the next COW meeting, both Lucy and I are going to be presenting on different plans. I'll be presenting on the progress of the, the comprehensive plan and the strategic plan throughout 2024, as well as our work plan for 2025, and she will be presenting on the progress of the sustainability plan. So that will be an exciting meeting just to hear all the different things that we've been working on, and just to get an update for you all. For South Beach, yes, the focus groups did close to register for them on the 12th. And then by the 15th is when we promised to get back to everybody as to what focus group they will be part of. I'm excited to say that we had 63 total responses, and we had 54 individuals that could make at least one of the 4 dates. We had some duplicates and some people that could not attend any of the dates at all, but we still wanted to get their information, to reach out to them with any feedback that PCI has or any questions and follow-up information that they'd like to gather. So we have 54 individuals who could make the dates. We've done our magic and placed each of them into one of the 4 focus groups. So every single person who signed up will be able to have a voice within those focus groups. So those will be coming up on January 21st and 22nd. So that's really exciting. A lot of good feedback will be happening there. Summer positions have been posted, so I encourage everybody out in our community and the surrounding communities to go in and apply. We have jobs at parks, we have jobs at the lakefront, at the pool, at summer camps. If you're 16 or 60, we have a spot for you. So please start putting your applications in. It's a really exciting time when we start thinking about summer in the cold weather like it is right now. Other than that, we do have a new social media and communication specialist, Mariana Yuriostigai. She'll begin on January 20th, so we're excited to welcome her to our marketing communications team. She comes to us from the Palatine Park District, and she was also over at Wheeling for a little while, so she's going to be a welcome addition to marketing and communications. And then lastly, I just wanted to say to Steve, thank you for your last 17 years. You were one of the first people to tell me that the people move here for the schools, but they stay here for the Park District. And it's still something that I believe is very, very true today, and that I've heard said many other times outside of your first words to me. So while you embark on a new chapter, obviously so do we, but you've left us in good hands. It won't be the same without your leadership, but you've instilled a great skill set in all of us to be able to move forward with. You've helped shape us into an agency that's open to and embraces change, that stays positive even when the going gets tough, speaks the truth, and one that continues to challenge ourselves to be the best that we can be. So thank you so much for all of the things that you have taught all of us, and hopefully by all the people in the room, you can see how much you're supported here at the district. So
thank you.
So that's tough to
Finance, thank
follow.
you.
But I would like to say I am super psyched at how many people are here when we're talking about finance. I never get a crowd like this. All right, so 5 things. The November financials are attached as part of the meeting agenda. We should have a pretty solid December number by the time we have the COW meeting at the end of this month. I just don't know what that is right now, so we'll be talking in a couple weeks. I had the preliminary internal control meeting with the auditors on January 6th. We're about 40% complete with the PBC, or prepared by client, list from them. They're going to be back for field work on March 3rd. We reviewed 1,065 W-2s for 2024. They should be mailed this week. They are already available in Paycom for downloading. The 2024 tax levy was accepted by the county on January 6th. That's a good thing. And 5th, our 2023 financials were awarded the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. So we got news of that early. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for finance?
You need me to stay up here for the discussion?
If you'd like.
What would you like?
I don't need you to stay. I don't know if anyone else has. Okay,
For the
thank
next
you.
thing's consideration. I don't,
Okay.
if you do.
Having no old business, unfinished business, we'll move on to new business, which is the consideration of the ordinance. May I have a motion for that, please?
I move to approve the ordinance 2025. Is that a 0 or no?
Oh.
01, budget and appropriations ordinance.
I'll second it.
Is there discussion?
Yeah, a little bit of discussion briefly. I had intended to vote against the appropriations ordinance for 2 reasons. One, obviously, this only includes spending, not revenues, but the net result is about a $6 million operating surplus. I think we know with some additional costs that we're now aware of, that number probably would be budgeted as less today. We had a very challenging capital meeting where we had to defer some critical projects. We have some financial concerns these days. And this obviously makes that much more difficult. I wanted to talk about how all the pieces fit together. I'm not sure this is the appropriate time to do that, though. I know we're going to have some Finance Committee of the Wholes coming up in the next couple of months where we can dig into this further. I also was very concerned about one specific line item that I believe we will exceed the appropriations. I don't think that's appropriate. I don't think it's appropriate for us to approve something when at least I expect it's going to exceed that. But I had an excellent conversation with our legal counsel earlier today, thank you very much, who talked about how we can probably address this in certainly not a dramatic way. So with that information, I'm in a position to support the appropriations ordinance.
Okay. Any further comments? We'll take a roll call.
Commissioner Frazier?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner Goebel?
Yes.
Commissioner Murdoch?
Yes.
Commissioner Duffy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowskis?
Yes.
Ordinance is approved.
May I have a motion for a closed session? To adjourn to closed session.
Sure. I'll move to adjourn to closed session for the discussion of the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a specific employee of the district, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee in the district or against legal counsel to determine its validity in accordance with Section 2C1 of the Open Meetings Act.
I'll second.
Discussion, roll call.
Maybe we say all in favor.
All in favor for that one?
Yeah, it's all.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Adjourn to closed session.